Hi, I'm Kelly and welcome to Kapowski Reads and my December reading Scottish roundup, wrap up, one of those. This month I've read 4 books by Scottish authors. 4 books but 3 authors because I read 2 books by the same author. The first book that I read was The Christmas Bookshop by Jenni Colgan. I had never read anything by Jenni Colgan prior to December, and I read 2 of her books this month, so now I've read a few. I gave this book 4 stars. I quite liked how this book started, in that it sort of starts with a woman in her 30s just feeling a little bit like her life is on hold, and as a woman in my 30s I can find that relatable. And then she ends up going to stay with her more successful career-wise sister and her family in their beautiful, beautiful townhouse in Edinburgh. And she is tasked with working in a bookstore to try and keep the bookshop afloat. I loved the little street that the bookshop was on. All of the different shop owners were just delightful. I did love that this book did not romanticise Edinburgh. Edinburgh is full of hills and stairs, and that can be really tough on the old feet, and I think that this book conveyed that pretty well. I really liked Mr. Macready, the old man with the bookshop. He was adorable, but I didn't like any of the main characters. I just thought they were whiny and entitled, and I realise I'm whining about them being whiny, which is which is ironic. I think I really enjoyed this book mainly because it was set in Edinburgh at Christmas. I have so many fond memories of going to Edinburgh in December with my mum and my sister. It was really nice reading a book that brought back all of those nice memories. This book had a love triangle which was really weird because, like I said, I didn't like any of the main characters. One of the love rivals seemed like a decent human being, and the other love rival kind of seemed well matched to the character because he was awful. The book was totally predictable from start to finish. But in a Christmas book, I don't mind the story being predictable because there are only so many directions that you can go in with a book that is a festive read. My ratings for books that are Christmassy reads are a little bit skewed. So had I read this book in April, I don't know why I'd be reading a Christmas book in April, but let's say I did, I'd probably give this book 3 stars because I did like some parts of it, but I ended up giving the book 4 stars. I think I maybe have been a little bit too kind, but I'm sticking with that. So the other Jenni Colgan book that I read was Christmas at Little Beech Street Bakery. It was really hard for me to remember that title. So this was set in just the most charming little seaside town, which is my ideal Christmassy story location. And the book basically revolves around a secret. This book I ended up giving 3 stars to, and I don't know why. I got really angry when I was talking about this book with my friends because there were so many parts of this book that just annoyed me. Well, again, all of the characters were pretty awful or boring. I think I'm supposed to find the fiance to be dreamy, but he was annoying. So annoying. I absolutely hated the rich guy in this book. I have not even remembered his name because I don't want to, but he just threw money at everything and like, no, you can't have a day off of work because I want you to come and cater for my family. He was just in. Oh, this book made me so mad. I definitely have given it too many stars considering how mad it's made me. But it was just a pretty standard Christmassy, maybe feel-good book, but it didn't make me feel good. I got so angry because somebody in this book has a secret and they confide in their friend. Now, we all know the rules of secret keeping mean that if you were given a secret, you hold on to that secret. That is just for you. You don't share that secret. In this book, there is a character who is like, oh, well, I'm your fiance and we don't have secrets. So you have to tell me your friend's secret that isn't yours to share. I'm sure your friend wouldn't mind you sharing your secret because we're going to get married. No, that's not how secrets work. It's not her secret to share. And unless her friend said, you can share this with your fiance, who's best friends with the person that the secret is about, then you don't share that secret. But she does. So she is not only a terrible person, she's a terrible friend. This book was also super predictable from start to finish, with the most ridiculous ending. But that sort of worked because it was a Christmas book. I don't mind a ridiculous ending in a Christmas book. I could see this book being a Hallmark film, which is kind of what I want in my December reads. Ideally with at least one character that I like. I did absolutely love the puffin in this book. I think if there were no puffins, I probably would have given this book 2 stars rather than 3, because I wanted to give it 2.5 and I ended up rounding it up because puffin. Both of my Jenni Colgan books were audiobooks, and the first one, the one at the bookstore, I thought the audiobook was absolutely perfect because the narrator had a Scottish accent, and it feels so rare to listen to an audiobook with a Scottish accent. So that was an extra little thing that I just loved. The narrator of the one at the bakery, she was so good. She was so good at all of the different accents of the different characters. So the audiobooks, I feel, were definitely the way to go with these books because they just made me like the books a little bit more. Next one was a really long title, again, Mrs. Blaine's Prefect and the Golden Samovar by Olga Wojtas, I think. I'm so sorry if I've pronounced that wrong. This book was not a Christmassy read. I saw that there was snow on the front cover and I decided that that was winter enough for me because at this point I was kind of done with reading my fluffy Christmas books and I wanted something a little bit different. This book was pretty cool in that it involved time travel. So the main character actually goes back in time on a mission in Russia, but she doesn't know what the mission is and she only has 7 days to do it, which there was part of me that thought perhaps you would tell somebody what their mission was so that they could do it. Evidently not. Shona is an absolute idiot. She is smart, she is intelligent, she is book smart, but common sense, she's an idiot. She has none. There is a point in this book where she has to, there is a murderer. It will tell you on the blurb that there's a murderer. Shona is actually being strangled by somebody and convinces herself that he's not trying to kill her. He's trying to check her pulse and just doesn't know how to do it properly. The woman is an idiot. It was infuriating. I think that I did really like Lydia though. She was more of a secondary character, kind of. She was the person that Shona was sent back to help, and I thought that she was such an interesting character. She was young, extremely wealthy, and all she wanted to do was woodwork, and that seemed so interesting. I really liked her. I guessed the entire plot of this book very early on, and there were no twists that surprised me, which was a little bit disappointing. This book references the Prime of Miss Jean Brodie quite a lot. Shona went to the school that is in the Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. I have not read that book. I have no plans to read that book, and from the other reviews of this book, I think that perhaps you would get more out of this book if you had read The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. But I have very strong feelings about books that have required reading. I'm not doing that. No. Obviously, if there's a series, I will read the books Usually I will read the books that come earlier in the series, but I don't think that a fiction book should have required reading that is the book of another author. That makes no sense. It was very strange, almost, I don't know if this book is maybe fan fiction or started as fan fiction. I don't know, but what I do know is that it feels like there were a lot of maybe jokes that I didn't get because I haven't read a book by somebody else. I wonder if the creme de la creme is something that is said a lot in the Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, or if the joke is that the girls educated there are really intelligent but really, really lacking in common sense to the point that it just makes you mad. So this book was okay. It was okay. In December, it's fine to sort of switch your brain off a little bit and read something that is predictable. Despite only giving this book 2 stars, I have every intention to read the next book in the series, and maybe I'll get a little bit more out of that. So my last book was the Snowkist Proposals, and it had 2 stories in it. One of them was the Christmas Runaway by Jenni Fletcher. I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I think it gave me a little bit something extra because it's set in Aberdeenshire. I believe the majority of the book takes place in Peterhead, which is only about 30 miles away from where I am. So that was quite nice to read a book that feels a little bit familiar. This was my first ever Mills and Boon. I've never even considered picking up a Mills and Boon book before, but both of the stories were nice wee romances, so I probably will pick another one up at some point. Again, this was just such a predictable romance, but it was what I wanted at the time. I did actually quite like the characters in this book. I liked Fiona. I thought she was so headstrong and just such a fierce friend to Vary, and I liked that. I really liked that she just kept wearing clothes that were completely unsuitable for her location. It was quite funny, but ultimately handy that she had her bright clothes. Angus was your typical love interest in a period drama. Grumpy, standoffish, very set in his ways, and that's fine. He did get a little bit annoying because he was just so opposed to his sister getting married, and you're like, Angus, just let your sister be happy. The character development in this book was, I felt, really, really good, and it felt quite realistic, which I liked. It was just a sweet little romance with snow and Christmas, and I got the happy ending for everyone. Everybody got a happy ending, which is kind of what I want from a Christmas romance. So I didn't do as well this month as I did last month with my Scottish reads, but I did have 2 4 stars, 1 3 and 1 2, which seems a lot worse than last month, but obviously November was a smashing month. I've already picked out some of my Scottish reads for next month, so I'm very excited to see what January holds in store for me. I think that's probably it. Thanks for watching. Bye!